So excited because yesterday I got to spend several hours with several practitioners. I opened up the training room yesterday for what was a Thanksgiving morning and just opened it up for some shop talk and some client work, and I felt so nourished after that time. I was I was really excited to just hang out and talk with some really striving practitioners about what's coming up for them. So I thought I'd jump on today as well while most people are out shopping. I don't know if most people do Black Friday anymore. I don't do Black Friday. Not because I'm against it. I like nice things. I'm just not a big fan of it feels like coercion to shop. I don't need to be coerced. Somebody asked me once recently if I don't do Black Friday because I have a different relationship with things since my house fire, but that's not really true. I do like nice things. I just don't like the rushing and the urgency and I like to shop with some relaxation. So if you're like me and you are at home right now or just relaxing somewhere and not rushing somewhere, then great. I'm glad to be here with all of you. Great. Yes. I just got a pop up from YouTube that we're live and that there's a chat open. So yes, I'd love to hear from you as well if you're here. I have no agenda for today, just like I had no agenda for yesterday. But again, I felt so nourished after spending several hours with several practitioners. I didn't realize how fun it would be. I mean, I knew it would be fun, but what I left that meeting with was real tangible sensation of just how grateful I am for the work that I do, for the industry that I chose, for sticking it out for a couple decades, which isn't very common. Hey Val, nice to see you. And also super grateful to like share it with some like minds. Like really, I just like, wow, this is like, these are my people. So good. So when work doesn't feel like work, that's a high praise. So that's how I felt yesterday. And so I thought I would just come here today for anyone who was not able to make it yesterday and want to just talk some shop. I am happy to, hi Gaming Star, nice to see you here too. I'm happy to talk shop with you or answer some questions. Again, I don't have a particular agenda, but I did want to share what came up yesterday. Well, several things came up yesterday. One of the things that came up yesterday was one of our Schatz Method mastery practitioners has a different ability to measure and create measurable analytics in the workspace that they're in. So some of you know, most of you know, that I work with both manual and movement practitioners. So what I've witnessed clinically as a manual practitioner is that there's definitely, I would say, can you say definite stats if you don't measure them? I've definitely witnessed over several decades working clinically that I can, with my patients, increase their muscle strength, even though I can't measure it specifically like with an external device. I can't measure it externally with an external device, but I see it happening before my eyes. So this practitioner yesterday, who's in our Schatz Method community, she's a Schatz Method practitioner, is very skilled. She let me know that she has been measuring her clients doing the same thing that we do in our method, and that there was absolutely definite measurable outcomes where she said they were not lifting external weights. Her clients were not lifting external weights. There was no external resistance on them at all. And this went on for many, many weeks. And when we would think that that would decrease our strength, muscles atrophy within 24 hours, which I teach, and some of us think, oh my gosh, I have to work out every day, or I don't keep my six-pack abs and all these things. What she found is that in the work that we do that's not weight driven, that's not external weight driven, not only did they not lose muscle strength, but it went up. And I was so excited that one of us actually captured these data points and these analytics. We're gonna publish them for you early next year so that you all have that same information as well. Yep, it's super interesting. I can't believe I'm super grateful. Like, I can't believe that our year is ending with this information. Like, things that I've known, you just know things. I've said this before. I have a friend of mine who is a very high-end researcher, double PhD, and I say, I don't do the same sort of research that you do, but I've researched hours and hours and hours in this clinical space, and I just know this. I just wish I had like a way to, like, I don't know, show someone a slide and prove it kind of thing. So anyway, one of our practitioners had that yesterday, so we get to publish that data, which just lights me up. Forgotten 1554 MNM said hi. Hi. I wish I knew your name, but hi. It's nice to see you. Nice to have you here. So we're going to be publishing. I will be publishing with, with the support of our Schatz Method practitioner. I'll be publishing those data points for you. If you are a personal trainer or Pilates instructor or someone who works with corrective exercise and strength conditioning, I'm really excited to give this information to you, especially because you get to work not as hard to create good results, and your clients get to work less hard to actually have the results that they're looking for too. So I'm all about that. Everybody gets to have a win-win. And I will also be sharing at the beginning of the year. Hey, Melissa Meredith, thank you so much. I will also be sharing at the beginning of the year new findings on hypermobility. I've said this for, I don't know, probably 30 years, that I know that hypermobile brains are different. I obviously know that hypermobility creates differences in constitution types and ligament structures, and that's all true. But now with the work that I'm doing with the Cleveland Clinic, I have other tangible information for all of us that I've been working clinically and teaching my Schatz Method practitioners for ages, and now I actually have more data points to prove that as well. So it just feels like the year of confirmation. So I'm very excited and super grateful again to be in this industry. I would love to hear what you guys are grateful for. If you want to share that, no problem, Melissa. What's no problem? Sharing it later? What do you mean by that? I'd love to know. So yeah, I'd love to hear what you guys are grateful for. And if there's any way that I can support you here, I am over the moon to do that. I mean that sincerely. So we've been talking about yesterday in our pod training, we talked about maximizing the Liber system and alignment parts and mobility and these metrics. No problem by calling you gorgeous because you said thank you. Oh, thanks very much. Hey, Daniel, have a nice evening for you. So it's like 3:30 in the afternoon for me. You must be east of me, unless that's just planning ahead for the evening, because I think 3, even 4 is still afternoon. So maybe you're east of me, which is also cool. Where are you guys? Do you guys celebrate Thanksgiving? I find it really interesting. I have so many friends in Europe, and even though they don't celebrate Thanksgiving, they celebrate Black Friday. Not celebrate, but like Black Friday's a thing. Everybody's got a Black Friday thing. So yeah, I don't specifically have a Black Friday event. That's not what we do. I celebrate Gratitude Weekends. We do have our Gratitude Weekend happening. For those of you who are on my list, then you've already gotten an email about that. We do have our enrollment open for our 2-day clinical immersion happening in January, where you'll work with me in a clinic with clients. So kind of like what we did yesterday, but actually with bodies and like proving the results to ourselves in real time. I've also enjoyed answering some questions this morning. I had some calls with some practitioners about that, and there were some questions. I love when you guys have questions, because it lets me know like what I missed in my messaging, so that I know like what you're looking for and how I could just either answer it and give you what you need, or answer it and then it's not what you need. But one of the questions that I heard a few times this morning was, is this Gratitude Week, not Gratitude Weekend. This is Gratitude Weekend, which is when the enrollment is open for the immersion, which is happening in January. So we're starting the year 2026 with this immersion. The immersion is really meant to be like a needle mover, right? Like we're going to deep. That's why it's called an immersion. We're going to dive in deep. You're going to come in smart and savvy, and you're going to leave more effective. And that's my promise to you. And so one of the questions that I heard about that training weekend in January is there a structure to it? Oh my gosh, yes, there's a structure to it. So again, thank you for asking the question so that I know where I missed in the clarity on that. When I offered to you guys that I'm not going to be teaching you just a technique over the whole weekend, meaning it's not structured in that way where I've set the agenda and you're going to learn this and then you're going to do that and then you're going to like follow me and rinse and repeat. That's not what we're doing. What we are going to do, you subscribed, Melissa. Oh, good. Love it. Thank you. I'm happy to have you. What I am going to be sharing with you that might have sounded like it wasn't a structure is you're going to come to that immersion with an agenda, meaning the agenda being all of us have the same agenda, that you're going to leave more effective. Like we're diving deep. We're working feverishly for 2 solid days. But what I might have misled you guys to believe is that there is a structure to that, right? We're going to be doing clinical reasoning, and I'm going to share with you assessment skills. I'm going to be hot seating you in the moment with everybody, like, you know, in a gentle, loving, supportive way. But I'm going to hear with you, like, what are the gaps that are coming up for you? What am I seeing and hearing with a client that you're not hearing and seeing? And that's 90% of the difference between outcomes, right? If I hear and see something different, then I can navigate something different. I can treat something different. So there is a structure, meaning I do have certain skill sets I want you to leave with, but I don't know what you're going to hear and what you're not going to hear. So I'm open to meeting you where you're at and just making sure that we accomplish that goal together, making sure that you leave way more skilled than you came in, and you're already coming in skilled. I'm speaking to you as an equal. You're already coming in skilled. I'm just going to get you, over the hump to your next level. Because all of our clients and patients are stressed right now. Everybody's stressed. Everybody's stressed. Everybody's stressed. They're worried about time. They're worried about money. They're worried about their health. They're worried about the economy. They're worried about the politics. They're worried about the country they live in. They're worried about the house. They're worried about, everybody's so at it right now. I really hope everybody has a good holiday season, because technically we're in the holiday season, and I want everyone to just float through that. But if you're a practitioner and you're serving folks, pain increases when our nervous systems are fried. It just does, because our nervous system is wired to take care of other things, not musculoskeletal problems. So when we're highly stressed, our brain is not available to heal gentle, needs inside our musculoskeletal system, and then those pile up, and then we end up having musculoskeletal pain. So this, if you are a manual or a movement practitioner, you're busier this time of year than any other time of year. That's just the nature of it. I think we always think that our patients are going to take a vacation and not come in. I have more emergency, oh my gosh, I threw my back out, can you see me now, this time of year than the other 11 months of the year. And you probably do too. So that's evidence that we're needed. We're always needed. No matter what's going on in the world, we're needed. And I want us to start 2026 when it is a little quieter in our offices, because everybody's got their New Year's resolution and their focus is a little different. They're coming down from the holiday stress. And in the area where I live, weather can sometimes make it an issue, like the roads closed down because of snow, etc. So why don't we just do a deep dive, start the year out really strong, and then set ourselves up as practitioners to really create some clinical difference next year. So that's why I chose the end of January for all of us. Melissa, how was my day today? That's so sweet of you to ask. My day today was lovely. It's been productive. It's been quiet. We had where I live now, we had our first snowstorm yesterday. So I live in an area that's very seasonal. We get all 4 seasons, which I love. We had a spectacular autumn, lots of sun, changing leaves, blue skies, warm weather. And then yesterday, which Thanksgiving, we had our first snowstorm. So that was a little unfortunate, because I think the roads were a bit tougher than they needed to be. But the good news is that now we're into winter wonderland. And today, it's good. Yeah, it is good. It's good. Tomorrow, I should say, tomorrow is my first day of holiday cheer, if you will. My nephew and my niece, his bride, we get together once a year and we create experiences together. He came to me one year and said, I don't want to do gifts anymore. I still want to celebrate with you, but we don't need any more things. Just like the Black Friday idea, right? So we get together every year and create experiences. I learned how to make candles with them. We went to a museum together. So luckily, the snow came for me. Luckily, the snow came yesterday, because now the roads are clear, and so I'll be able to make a clear shot to go see them. And that's what I've got going on for tomorrow. How was your day today? What have you guys been up to today? Are you at work? Do you have clients today? Are you shopping? Are you doing some of the Black Friday stuff? Are you not doing some of the Black Friday stuff? A friend of mine told me once, many moons ago, that there are two different types of consumers. One's not better than the other, but that there are two types of consumers. One type tends to gravitate towards purchases of things, like they want to improve their furniture in their house, and they want to get a new wardrobe, and they're redoing their makeup and their hair, and they're buying new clothes for their kids and books and puzzles and things like that. It's great. Love that. That's what the gifts under the tree are about. And that the other type of consumer is an experience purchaser. So they're the ones who don't buy a lot of things during the year, but they travel, or they spend weekends in hotels, even in their same city, or they invest in more training so that they can boost their skill set. So nothing tangible, like you can't hold it and wrap it in a box per se, but still purchasing and still investing in themselves. And so that's what my nephew and my niece and I are doing for a holiday, and it's what I'm offering in my company as far as experiences goes. Yesterday you got some Black Friday stuff. Yesterday you got some Black Friday stuff? You mean like after Thanksgiving dinner? Are you, Melissa Meredith, I don't know where you live in the world. Do you live in the United States and celebrate Thanksgiving? Because if so, I think that means you're one of those midnight shoppers. All right. Are you a midnight shopper? Do you hit Black Friday like as soon as midnight 01 clicks on the clock? How did you do Black Friday yesterday? Because today is Friday. Now I feel like I'm in the Twilight Zone. Today is Friday, right? Today is Friday. Oh, you're welcome, Melissa. It's good to have you. All right, excellent. Well, I, again, do not have an agenda. If there's anyone else, did I not say hi to anyone else? You guys are lighting up my chat. I love that. So good to see you guys here. Great. Okay. Yeah, I think I've answered all the questions by Melissa. And for those of you who are still here, I do see there's a couple of you here. I would love to know if I can support you in any particular way, or if you just want to hear me ramble, I'm happy to do that as well. I talked to you guys about our pop-up training yesterday. It wasn't really a training. It was just me in a room with several of our practitioners in our community, and they came with client questions and functional questions and biomechanics questions, and we worked through a treatment plan at the end with one of our master practitioners who has a client coming up on Tuesday, so early in the week. So it wasn't officially like a scheduled curriculum, except that we were all working on our stuff, on our craft, and I was lucky enough to be able to weigh in on that conversation and make a meaningful difference. And today I've actually been filing some more courses for CEs, and recognizing that most of my CE courses were all taught live at one time, and now we're all doing the virtual thing, which I like, but I also do like being in the room with you guys. I really do. So again, that's one of the reasons why we have our 2-day immersion coming up in January. I don't usually offer this. It's been eons since I taught live in person for practitioners outside of the Schatz Method community. And we all meet every year. So we have an annual, very long weekend. Not very long, I mean, it's never long enough, but we have a long weekend where we meet, and they work on me and I work on them. We work on each other. We work on our assessments. We put together treatment plans. We're deeper diving into the Schatz Method, and we're creating that kind of, focal point. But outside of the mastery program, I haven't worked live with practitioners in quite some time, actually. And I used to do it live all the time. And then we all moved to the internet a few years ago, and that was a blessing because now our reach is wider, right? Like we have practitioners in Europe, and I love that, and on all time zones. We get to have more time together just because we do have the internet. But it's not the same as being in the same room, as you guys know. So being in the same room just adds an extra element of concentration and focus and alchemy. Things do just transform when you're in the same space together. So I'm really looking forward to opening up this weekend in January for practitioners who are not in an extensive program. All right, that was another question though. So I didn't mean to confuse you guys if I did. We have our accelerator program running right now. I run that through fall and winter for practitioners who are wanting to train extensively with me, but are not in the window for our annual program, which is only once a year. Schatz Method Mastery only starts July 1st. I can't change that. So we run our accelerator program in fall and winter. And accelerator practitioners who are in that program also get this 2-day immersion as part of their programming. So there was even some of the accelerators were like, wait, I want to be in this immersion. Like, you are in the immersion. You are in the immersion. So I didn't mean to confuse you guys. If you are an accelerator or you want to be an accelerator, meaning you want to work with me in a concentrated way for 4 months over the winter, first quarter, if you will, of 2026, then that 2-day weekend immersion in January is included. So you get to come. So just mark your calendar and know that you're in. But you don't have to be in a program with me to be invited to this immersion. That's what I meant a few minutes ago when I said it's the first time I've opened up an in-person training with me for practitioners who are not enrolled in an otherwise longer program with me. So, but if you are not in a program and you want to come to that immersion, just know you're going to be in this space with other practitioners who are deep divers. So I love that idea. I remember, do you guys remember this massage therapist in the house? Do you guys remember the circuits and also personal trainers? Oh my gosh. So I'm both, as you guys know. I'm just having flashbacks as we speak. Do you guys remember the days where the massage therapy workshops were like, 75 students and 35 treatment tables, and everybody was paired up, and you couldn't quite hear the lead instructor, and you were paired up with someone that you never met before, which is super cool. But everybody comes from different states with different techniques, different skill sets, different lengths of time in the industry, and you're given something to do, something that's new. You're given something to do, and you're paired up at a table. And even though everyone hovered around the table of the trainer, which you can't really see everything because everybody's hovered around one table, then you get dispersed out. You're partnered up with another colleague, and you guys are like, wait, what are we supposed to, wait, is this how are we? And you start looking around the room trying to figure out if you're doing the right thing. Kind of like being in a yoga class. You're like, what is everybody doing? I know that was the way that we needed to learn back in the day, but I really was so frustrated by the ineffectiveness of it. And I don't have a solution of like, oh, it should have been done this way. It's just the nature of 75 people in a room and not enough time, and you're learning something new that you've never learned before, and so you hope that you got it before you leave. Yeah, I don't teach like that. So the immersion's got a cap on it of 20 people. I literally can make my way around the room and hands-on with every single person if I cap it at 20. I have to hustle, but nobody gets left out. So that's another reason why the workshops why the weekends are not workshops and why they're immersions and they're capped at 20 people. So you know that you get like a lot of focused work. And I remember being in personal training, like in kettlebell training and other CEs as a personal trainer. And it was a room full of like really smart, athletically strong people. And the gym would kind of echo and you couldn't quite see what was going on, and you were supposed to practice, but when you were practicing and you weren't sure if you got it, you didn't know if the instructor was actually seeing you, so you weren't sure. Yeah, it's frustrating. For me, that is frustrating to learn that way. I want to get in, I want to do really well, and I want to get out, and then I want to get back to my clinic and implement it right away. So that's how I set up the immersions. You're going to come in, we're going to deep dive. I'm going to hands-on eyeballs on you. We're not going to miss anything. It could feel intense, but I got your back. That's why you're there. And then after the immersion's over, we're going to check in, and I want to hear how the implementing is going. So another thing that happens when you go into a deep dive or even a light dive, you can only really take in 20% of what's being said. That's how our physiology is wired. So even if you pay attention the whole time when you're in the front row, you can still only get 20%. So in a 10-hour workshop, that means you got 2 hours of content. That's not enough for me. I value for value. I'm all about experiences. So We're going to do some implementing after the immersion as well. So there'll be some follow-up after that 2 days. And that is how I'm positive that we're going to move the needle starting at the beginning of the year. So that's what I want us to do together. And those were the two biggest questions, framed in slightly different ways, but those are the two biggest points of clarity that I get to offer all of you who are considering the immersion weekend. And it's not happening until January, but Gratitude Weekend pricing is this weekend. So that's happening right up through Sunday evening. And then December 1st, we go into regular early enrollment pricing. So that's what that's about as well. And Melissa said before she left, she's a midnight shopper. Oh man, I don't know if I want to shop. I used to shop at midnight, but it was for groceries because I'm food motivated, and so that's like literally the only thing I would want to shop for at midnight. Otherwise, I don't think I can focus as much. So who else was shopping today? Did anybody shop? I did want to go to one little shop, a local, handcrafted type shop today. I might do that tomorrow though. We'll see. Anybody else doing any shopping today? Anybody else doing any seasonal stuff? How about leftovers? I am still full from yesterday, actually. And I don't even eat everything that's on offer, and I'm still full from yesterday. All right, my friends. Well, if there are no other questions for today, I will wrap it up here. We've been here almost 30 minutes. Time flies when you're having fun. I can tell you that I'll give you a little sneak peek from yesterday's client case study that we went over when we had our gratitude meeting, gratitude group training. The case study that came up yesterday had lots of fascinating elements to it. One of them, in no particular order, but in the ones that strike me the most, one of the elements that came up in yesterday's case study was the emotional heaviness that is held by a client patient when a diagnosis is assessed and assigned, when a diagnosis is assigned. So this is really interesting, even as I'm navigating my own rehab from my fall last year. Every time I go in for another assessment or MRI or test or whatever, part of me wishes, can you guys hear that? I was just thinking that you guys probably can hear my washing machine washing because I don't have a filter on my phone for the sound. Sorry if you guys can't hear me super well. One of the things that happens with diagnoses, and that I'm also experiencing in a Western world from a Western perspective, is that part of me does want a diagnosis when I go in for these tests so that I can know what's going on so that then I can do something about it. And then I'm in split mind because the other part of me doesn't want the diagnosis because that means that oh no, this thing has happened or is present or is now the scenario. Sort of split minds. And I remember when I was in early days of undergrad and my first run through massage therapy, and I remember hearing that we couldn't diagnose. And I was like, what do you mean we can't diagnose? Physical therapists can diagnose. And I was all, offended by why we couldn't diagnose. And you guys have heard me say this before. It turned out to be a silver lining because if you can't legally diagnose, then you don't get fixated on the limitation. Yeah, same Val. I'm in bed by 9 these days too. If we can't diagnose, then we're not fixated on the fixedness of what a diagnosis means. And so in yesterday's case study that we were working through together, there was a very strong opinion that came with a diagnosis. Really, really, I get to practice my internal calmness. This diagnosis was assigned to the patient that they had this thing, which happened to be a constitution type, likely, meaning you can't change it, right? You can't change the color of your eyes either. That doesn't mean there's something wrong. But then the physician said that there was something wrong, that this person had been born defective, and the patient's a teenager. And like, I don't know about you, but like, I just didn't need to, I still don't need to hear that there's something defective about me, because we're humans and we all have this like, super tender heart, and we all want to be our best and do our best and serve in our best. And to hear someone in a position of authority tell us that we're less than, it's just very heavy. So not only is a diagnosis sort of an iffy, like, yes, you want the clarity of the diagnosis, which is just a collection of symptoms, by the way, it's not a final statement, but you don't want the fixedness of a diagnosis. You definitely don't want opinions coming in with a diagnosis. So we really got to workshop that out, and I was grateful that as I was talking and giving my very impassioned opinion about it, the practitioners that were there were all nodding, like we're all in agreement with this, right? And when we get into agreement, oh, Valerie, you can hear the spin cycle? Oh shit, there's 10 minutes left. Should I turn it off? Is it too loud? Tell me if it's too loud, because if it's too loud and annoying, then that's definitely not the atmosphere I want to create for you. So if it's too loud, let me know and I'll turn it off. But one of the other things we want to be really thoughtful about, friends, is that when a client does come with a diagnosis, we don't need to start snickering at the provider that offered that diagnosis. It's just information. Just let it be neutral. It's just information. It's information that a collection of symptoms has deemed itself identifiable, and so then it was identified and then assigned. And like, let that be enough, because that all gets in the way of what you're going to do about it. And what you're going to do about it is what matters. When it's musculoskeletal, there's always a positive effect you can have. I like to say that there's always a way that I can make an improvement, and I strive to remedy the problem, right? Pathology can present some hiccups along the way, but it doesn't mean that it can't be improved. So focus on what you can do for the improvement. And if you're not clear on what that is, or if you're not getting improvements, you're just sort of curbing the symptom flame for a while, well, that's when you want to come in and do something like the immersion, or have a mentoring session with someone who does create results and you want to have a track record of that. It doesn't mean it's not about being better or worse. It's not a judgment call. It's like, some of us have just had more at bats. So when you swing the bat more times, you have more chances of a home run. It doesn't mean you're not a good player. You just haven't had that many at bats. So hitch your wagon to someone who has, so that you can learn faster, right? I always say, I'm not smarter than you guys. I'm just going to get you there faster. I'm just going to compress time. I'm going to get you to focus on the things that you get to focus on, and help you synthesize it in a way that's meaningful, and then hold you accountable to implementing that. And that is one of the things that I heard yesterday from one of our Schatz Method practitioners. She said, and she's very vetted. She came to me with tons and tons of training. A lot of you have. She said it wasn't a lack of training, it was the accountability you hold us to, knowing our stuff and applying it. And that's why we're getting results. Yes! Like, let's all do that. So that is that's the focal point for starting January 2026. That's the kind of case studies I want to work with you on. There was a study group that we had earlier in our community a week or two ago, and they were talking case studies, and a couple of the practitioners are like, well, I did this one thing on this one patient and that worked, or Gina said that she did this on one patient and that worked. Babes, don't do that. That's not the way to create a treatment plan. You get to work with the person in front of you. Take all of that other success. Okay, thanks, Val, for the feedback. I'm glad it's okay. The noise in the back of the room. It's crazy, because when I first moved in here and heard this washer, it's like a washer dryer combo, which is cool. It's like space saving. The first time I heard it, I thought the house was falling down. And I live in a building with I live in a renovated church, so it's kind of echoey in the common area, and all the units have these washers and dryers. And you can absolutely hear when people are doing laundry, because it like echoes in the chamber of what used to be the guts of the church. And now it's so interesting that I've kind of blocked it out, even though it's so loud. If I pay attention to it, it's really loud. So I'm glad that it's not distorting sound for you guys the way I know that it could have. So where was I? I was on accountability and training. Oh, right. Yes. Okay. My friends, we don't want to copycat our previous treatment with another client or patient onto the next one. And we don't want to copycat someone else's success story onto our client, which doesn't mean that we don't learn from each other. And it doesn't mean that you don't take those successes. So let's turn that into an affirmative. You absolutely take your successes that you figured it out once before. You got a success, you can figure it out again. Someone that you're in alignment with, a peer, a colleague, a mentor, someone in your community, they're creating wins, utilizing your method, your framework, how you strategize through treatments. If they got it to work, you can get it to work. And then you want to be absolutely present with the patient in front of you, or if you call your folks that you are in service to clients, your client or your patient, you want to be absolutely present to them. We don't want to just cookie cutter lay treatment plans over on top of each other. And in the Schatz Method community, in my level 2, we play a game called Based on What. So you come to me with your treatment plan, tell me about your client, tell me about your treatment plan, and then immediately we start playing the game. Based on what are you doing that? Based on what do you think that's needed? Based on what do you see a gap here? Like, based on what, right? And that applies to all things, anatomy and symptoms and treatments and feedback from the body. Based on what applies to all of that. And the reason why I drive that home at level 2 is because we want to get out of the rote playbook way of working. Because if that happens, if you're in that rote playbook, you're not present, you'll miss things. But mostly, the success comes from how you strategize, not by your doing. Like, of course you're doing things, but you're strategizing on what needs to be done. And here's how I'll tell you, it's more about strategy and less about doing. This will really resonate for you if you're a massage therapist. Massage therapists in our foundational training, we're taught that the person we're in service to is passive on the table. Every once in a while, they'll move a limb, or we'll move a limb for them, or they'll move from one side to another, but they're on a treatment table. That's why we have massage tables, because the patient is on the table. Got it. But when we start working beyond our foundational training, it becomes really apparent that the patient needs to participate. Why? Oh, see, now I realize I was yelling because my washer is getting quieter now. Why do we need to have the patient participate? Because functional anatomy dictates that. If we use our anatomy, it'll tell us the way our patient got into pain was either by how they moved, or how they didn't move, or how they're no longer able to move. Movement is the key there. So in order for us to fully remedy what they've come to us with, there has to be some type of involvement on their part. Now, what I didn't say was that you now get to become a movement practitioner. There's nothing lacking if you are a manual provider. There's nothing lacking if you're a movement provider as far as your foundational training. But beyond your foundational training, there's more for you if you're looking to create orthopedic results. And when you are looking to create orthopedic results, most of that comes from your strategizing, the way you're thinking about what's being presented and what's needed. And it's not so much anymore on your doingness, right? And so that's why I use the massage therapy example to illustrate that, because it's not so much what you're doing anymore, it's what the client is doing for movement. And even when you're a movement provider, you're not doing the movement for them. So you need to know what type of movement do they need to create the result that you want for them. So again, I want you to refrain from cookie cuttering your treatment plans or copy and pasting them, because even when a treatment plan was successful one time ago, and there's a likelihood that it could be effective now, you will get better results when you can strategize in the moment based on what with what's being presented, which in order for you to know what's being presented, you must be present. And so that's part of that's advanced skill set, right? Instead of learning all the motions as you are a manual like massage therapist, you pick up the arm, you do this with the sheet, you do this many times, or maybe you've graduated to your clients and patients are not getting undressed, but they're laying down and you're doing this, and then you're doing that, and then you're doing this, and then you're doing that, and you're doing it on the right, and then you're doing it on the left. We don't do that anymore. We don't do that kind of rote sequencing. Same thing with movement providers. If you are a movement provider, you're needed. Body's designed to move. If you're a movement provider who's also remedying orthopedic problems, it can't be your sequencing and your choreography, meaning, 5 of these, 6 of those on the right, on the left. It can't be that if you're looking to remedy a problem, because a problem requires that you pause on the problem, sort out the problem, and then bring it back into the whole so that then the person can go back to doing what you asked them to do. And all that means is that you need to know what to do in the pause. In the presence of what's being presented, you get to think through what is required of you, what is needed by the body, and how are you going to interface to make that a solution. That's next level. That's what this immersion's about, and that's what I'm offering for you guys as far as treatment plans and putting treatment plans together. So we did talk a lot about that yesterday, and while this was an idea that I just shared with you now, we really got to implement that in creating an actual treatment plan for my practitioner's lucky patient who's going to see her on Tuesday. And that's the same thing that we're going to do in our immersion. And then, of course, you're going to have some follow-up with me after the immersion so that I can hear how that's going and how the implementing is shaping up for you. Okay, so I'm looking here. Do we have any other questions? I've been doing a lot of the talking, and now it's quiet. So I hope you guys are still here. Maybe you were waiting until it got quiet to ask questions. I'm happy to support you guys. If you wanted to tell me what was the trickiest treatment plan you've been working on lately, or the one that you thought you were plateauing in a little bit, I'm not here to judge. Just, if you could tell me what it is that's been going on, I might be able to glean some, strategizing for you. Anybody? No? Okay. Well, if there are no questions, it seems like there's a little bit of a delay, which there usually is on YouTube. But if there's a little bit of a delay and I've missed your question, you can still type it in the chat and I will come back and answer it later. And I'm just going to wrap up here. And if you guys are eager to put a question in, then I will hang out and answer. But if I don't see any questions come in, I will go. I'll give you a couple minutes if you want to be typing right now and say, I'm super grateful. I'm super grateful for you being here. I'm super grateful for the work that you're doing. I have a vision that every physical body, every person with a body has a really great relationship with their body and knows that their musculoskeletal issues can be resolved so that they can live pain-free, so that their nervous systems aren't fried, so that they can be fully present to the life experience that's ahead of them. I've always wanted that, actually. I was reflecting yesterday on where did that all come from. I remember I was reflecting on this because in our training yesterday, I'm coming back to another story and then I'll wrap up and say goodbye. Yesterday in our group training, one of our practitioners was, we were talking about family. Some of us were celebrating Thanksgiving and we had family coming in, et cetera. And one of our practitioners was talking about how her now adult child is doing the thing that when this adult child was a young child, they could see it in the child. And they were like, oh, we just know that this is going to be her path because we saw it so young. And I started reflecting after our call and I realized, how long ago did I know? Oh my heavens. So I'm super going to date myself right now, but that's okay. I remember when I was very little, I was a latchkey kid, so I was home alone a lot and I had to keep myself entertained. And we had an encyclopedia book set from A to Z. We don't even make those anymore. So I know that That's just put me in a timeline, and I'm okay with that. But I remember thinking when I was little, well, I have all this time while I'm home alone. I'm going to read all the encyclopedias. Which was hilarious. I probably would have enjoyed that, but I never got past the A book, because the A book, not because I couldn't read, but because the A book had anatomy in it, and there were these vellum sheets that you could like lay over, like there were the bones and the muscles and the organs. I almost like wore that book out. I remember when all the books were on the bookshelf, you could clearly see that the spine of the A book was almost worn out because I just kept opening it up and opening it up and opening it up and opening it. Like I loved the anatomy, and I read everything about the anatomy in that encyclopedia. And we didn't have anatomy in elementary school. I mean, we had a gym class, but we didn't have anatomy per se. We had biology, but that wasn't until later, until high school. So I was reflecting on that yesterday, and I'm like, oh my gosh, right? Like some of us have the imprint from really young. And like, were there other things that I loved in the world? Yeah, like I loved dance, and, it's also part of movement though, and function and biomechanics. So there was other things that I loved in the world, but I always loved the anatomy, which brings me back to, I've always wanted people to love the anatomy, to love their anatomy. I remember reading in the A encyclopedia book something so fascinating, and then like experiencing it in my body, like trying to figure out like where was that thing. I remember learning how to, like reading about swallowing and then learning how to swallow and picturing the parts in my throat moving while I was swallowing. Like I was fascinated by all this. And I remember really young wanting everybody else to be just as excited about how they swallowed. And like nobody was quite as enamored with that idea as I was, but I'm still that enamored. Like one of the things I'm learning now with this injury that I'm navigating is that the sound of my swallowing has changed because of the inner ear and the bones in the skull, which I didn't know about when I was a kid. Didn't even know about them 6 months ago, but now I do, and I'm hearing swallowing differently, which is making me look more at those bones in my skull and what they do and what are the parts that are making resonant sounds off of each other. All that to say, I'm super grateful for those of you who are enamored also with the body and who are dedicated to making sure that the people you're in service to are out of pain so that they can also not be so distracted by their physical apparatus, but enjoy it and then enjoy the rest of their life too, right? It's one of the reasons why I'm super glad we don't have the ability to diagnose, because no one gets to be fixed into a broken position. There's always something we can do to make it better. So I'm super grateful to be on this path. Clearly, it's been a lifelong love affair for me. And I really am grateful to share space with you guys, either online space or in-person space or on socials, like anywhere that we're learning from each other and increasing our skill set so that we can increase our outcomes for people that we're in service to. Like super grateful. And I don't see me stopping anytime soon. It's been several decades and I got a few more to go. So I hope you do too. Our industry deserves to have veterans who are really good at what they do, because there's a lot of people that deserve to have our skill set. Okay, my friends, so that's it for me today. I'm so glad that you guys were here and that I got to see and hear some of you live. I'm wishing you so much joy and love for the rest of this weekend, the rest of the season. Of course, I will see you for our regularly scheduled programming and training that we do each week. And I'm also looking forward to those of you who are jumping into the immersion with me in January, because as excited as I am about this year and how this year is wrapping up, I'm also really looking forward to 2026 and everything that's coming. It's going to be faster and powerful. I can just tell. So looking forward to seeing you guys next time. Happy Friday. Bye for now.